So Biden got a net 395,000 votes of vote by mail in 2020. They might get 300 to 400,000 total net vote by mail requests. That means that Kamala Harris will be if she performs the same as Biden, which she probably won't because of the black support erosion, let's just say back of paper math, that's a 200,000 vote deficit. Again, but the turnout will be down, so you have to kind of understand that just generally it will be harder to compare apples to apples. But point being, Josh, the percentage margins that they were enjoying by vote by mail will not be there in the state of Georgia. Therefore, this will be largely won or lost based on who will vote in person early and on Election Day. Tell us about Georgia voting culture, about in person early, and is my analysis correct?
Yeah, so we have a good, as you said in the last segment, a good culture of turning out. 2020 in a lot of ways was an anomaly for a whole host of reasons. But we have worked very hard for the last year talking to our voters about how critically important it is to vote in person early, to run up the score, to not let up. And people are responding well to that. You know, when we started having those conversations, there was some pushback. We've been able to answer those. We've been able to explain the connection between getting our base voters out early to give us more resources to touch those low propensity voters that put us over the finish line. And people are buying into that. I think we're going to see next week really good, strong turnout from Republican strongholds during early voting.
And so let's just kind of make the final case here. What issues are driving Georgia voters the most, and to which candidate does that favor in the state of Georgia?
Well, that's another way we really have the wind at our back, because the issues that Georgians continually say they're most concerned about are the economy and immigration. And in all of the polling, President Trump has commanding leads on both of those issues. So the discussion in this campaign has largely been focused on what's your economic situation like now? Was it better 4 years ago? And then, of course, the crisis at the border. And here in Georgia, we know we've heard these stories all over the country, but obviously it's incredibly powerful. The tragedy of Lake and Riley and what that family has experienced has brought the issue of our broken southern border home in a way that is very, very strong with our Republican base voters and with a lot of middle-of-the-road voters. I was in a ride share 2 weeks ago with a middle-aged Black woman with two high school-aged children, and that was the issue she was talking to me about, the broken border. And, you know, Donald Trump can solve that problem. I know he can, and that's why she was leaning towards Donald Trump. So these are the issues that are driving the campaign here in Georgia.
Yeah, and just talk a little bit, Josh. We have about 2 minutes remaining. It is becoming more of a battleground state because a lot of money is poured in, and also the Atlanta suburbs and exurbs are not as red as they used to be. So you got to run to the finish line. Talk about that, Josh, the changing terrain of Georgia politics.
Sure. You know, we are a more competitive state than we were 4 years ago, 8 years ago. But what we do know is that in 2022, with the exception of the U.S. Senate election, we won every statewide race. We have a General Assembly, our state legislature controlled by Republicans. Our congressional delegation is majority Republican. So this is a center-right state. We do have a lot of people moving in. Some of that has to do with the film and television tax credit that has brought a lot of Hollywood to Georgia. There's some other shifting around that. But even with your middle-of-the-road persuadable voter, when you're talking about their pocketbook, when you're talking about fentanyl, which has touched almost every family you can talk to in this state in some way, those issues resonate, whether that person considers themselves to be a right-wing Republican or someone in the middle. So we have continued to make this campaign and this conversation around, do you want the economy to get better for you and your family? And do you want us to finally do something to stem the tide of migrant crime and illegal drugs flowing into our state? And I believe we are winning that conversation. I believe that the polling reflects that, public and private polling, but we've got to run through the tape, not to the tape, on November 5th.
That's right. Josh, great work. We'll be in Georgia the week after next to finish strong. We have an event at Georgia State University, University of Georgia, and then, of course, our big one in Duluth. Josh, thank you so much.